The world has no idea what is about to hit it because the biggest economic shock of the decade is already forming silently beneath our feet, and most people are completely unprepared for what comes next. This time, it is not inflation, not a housing crash, not a banking collapse, and not the usual recession fears. This time, the storm revolves around something far more fundamental to the modern world: oil, the lifeblood of every economy on Earth. And in the year 2026, oil is heading straight toward a crisis so severe that even the energy analysts who predicted the shocks of 2008 and 2014 are sounding the alarm louder than ever before. This is the 2026 oil shock, the price explosion no one is ready for, and by the time the world realizes what is happening, it may already be too late. If you want more breaking economic analysis, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us your view in the comments because your voice matters here. Now let's begin. The crisis is not something that is coming one day. It is already unfolding piece by piece in the background, hidden inside the numbers that only experts pay attention to. Over the last 18 months, global oil reserves quietly fell to their lowest level since 2014. Investment in new drilling collapsed by nearly 40% compared to the pre-pandemic era. Major shipping routes in the Red Sea, the Black Sea, and the Strait of Hormuz became unpredictable because of attacks, rising tensions, insurance restrictions, and geopolitical disputes. And OPEC+, the group that controls 1/3 of global oil, announced multiple production cuts throughout 2024 and 2025 that were much deeper than the world realized. But none of these factors alone are the real problem. The real problem is this: global oil demand is rising again, and rising much faster than supply. India is consuming more oil than at any point in its history. China, even in its economic slowdown, continues to burn enormous quantities of fuel. The United States, despite all the talk about electric cars replacing gasoline, is still consuming near record amounts of oil. Put simply, the world is using more oil than ever before, while producing less than it needs. This imbalance is the spark, the silent fuse that has already been lit. What comes next is the explosion. Every major oil crisis in history has started with an imbalance between supply and demand. 1973 saw the OPEC embargo. 1979 saw the Iranian Revolution. 2008 saw massive global demand collide with insufficient production. And now, 2026 is approaching with a new, even more dangerous setup. This time, the pressure is coming from every direction at once. First, OPEC+ countries are producing far below their public quotas. Some nations have cut far more than they admit, either because of political pressure, internal struggles, or deliberate strategy. Second, Russia's shadow tanker fleet is reaching a breaking point. Over 600 tankers operating outside Western insurance systems are now old, heavily sanctioned, or restricted from major ports. Many of these ships will be forced out of operation in early 2026 because of new global maritime rules. Third, U.S. shale oil, which saved the world from shortages in the 2010s, has stalled. The easy wells have already been drilled. New wells decline faster. Investors refuse to pour billions into new drilling because they no longer trust long-term profitability. Fourth, extreme weather events, record heat waves, massive storms, and powerful hurricanes are shutting down offshore platforms more often and for longer periods than ever before. Combined, these factors create a supply vacuum that the world is not prepared for. And once that vacuum cracks, the shock will ripple through every corner of the global economy. So what will the price explosion look like? Analysts are already issuing warnings. Many expect oil could jump to $110 per barrel under a mild shock, $150 under a severe shock, and $180 to $200 per barrel if a major event triggers a sudden cut in supply. Some energy strategists go even further. They warn that global supply may soon be structurally unable to meet global demand even under normal conditions. That is the kind of environment where markets behave chaotically, where prices stop following logic, and where governments begin to panic. Because oil does not affect just cars and gasoline. Oil affects everything: transportation, manufacturing, agriculture, aviation, shipping, chemicals, plastics, fertilizers, electricity generation, and nearly every product used in daily life. When oil prices rise sharply, everything becomes more expensive. Airplane tickets, groceries, construction materials, online deliveries, imported goods, even medicine and healthcare equipment. The 2026 oil shock could ignite a new wave of worldwide inflation just as central banks are trying to stabilize their economies after years of turbulence. But the public still does not see the hidden dominoes forming behind the scenes. The first domino is vulnerable economies, nations heavily dependent on imported oil, such as Pakistan, Turkey, Bangladesh, Egypt, and many African countries, may face severe inflation, blackouts, currency devaluation, or social unrest. The second domino is the airline industry. Fuel surcharges will rise, ticket prices may spike, and some routes could even be reduced. The third domino is supply chains. Higher fuel costs will push shipping prices up again, repeating the pain of 2020 and 2021. The fourth domino is energy competition. Countries will begin bidding against each other for limited supplies. The fifth domino is government intervention. Nations may release strategic reserves, add fuel subsidies, or impose emergency rationing. The sixth domino is the United States. Its strategic petroleum reserve remains at historically low levels, giving America less room to respond to a global crisis. And finally, the seventh domino is a global recession risk. Historically, every major spike in oil prices has pushed the world into some form of economic slowdown. 1973, 1980, 1990, 2008. When oil rises too fast, too high, too soon, the world economy simply breaks under the pressure. And the 2026 shock may follow the same pattern. Not everyone will lose in this crisis. Oil exporters, energy companies, and commodity traders may see short-term profits. But even they may suffer if a global recession reduces demand. Meanwhile, Europe, developing countries, airlines, manufacturers, and ordinary consumers will face the heaviest burden. The world is now just one event away from the full 2026 oil shock. It could be a major pipeline sabotage, a sudden war escalation, a blocked shipping lane, a refinery explosion, a cyber attack on energy infrastructure, a harsh winter that pushes heating demand through the roof, or a surprise announcement from OPEC+. Any one of these could send oil prices from $100 to $150 to $200 per barrel within weeks. Experts warn that once the shock begins, the chain reaction will be almost impossible to stop. First comes the price spike, then comes the inflation wave, then comes the consumer slowdown, then comes government intervention. And finally, if conditions align, a global recession. None of this is speculation. The data is already here. The cracks are visible. The world is walking straight into an energy storm, and almost no one is paying attention. So the real question is, will 2026 bring a temporary price surge or a historic oil crisis that reshapes the global economy for the next decade? Tell us your thoughts in the comments. We read every opinion. And if you found this video valuable, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more in-depth global economic breakdowns. Stay informed, stay prepared, and thank you for watching.